whisper came from the back seat, so soft it almost blended into the hum of the highway. "Daddy, I don't like Mom's game." Ethan Harper's hands tightened around the steering wheel. At first, he told himself it was nothing. Kids say strange things all the time, half-formed thoughts, fragments of imagination, words that float out and disappear like breath on glass. His son, Noah, was only 7, curious, observant, sensitive in a way that made Ethan proud and uneasy at the same time. Still, something about the way Noah said it made the air in the car feel heavier. "What game, buddy?" Ethan asked, keeping his voice light, careful not to let the sudden chill reach his tone. There was a pause. The kind that stretches longer than it should. "The quiet one," Noah finally said. Ethan glanced at the rearview mirror. Noah was staring down at his small hands, fingers twisting together like he was trying to knot his thoughts into something safer. His seatbelt sat snug across his chest. His backpack slumped beside him, still zipped from school. The radio continued playing a cheerful song, completely unaware that something unseen had shifted. "The quiet one?" Ethan repeated, forcing a small smile. "You mean a board game? Or something on her phone?" Noah shook his head slowly. "She says it's a secret game," he whispered. "But secrets make my stomach hurt." Ethan felt it then, a faint, unmistakable warning bell ringing somewhere deep inside his chest. They were 10 minutes from home. Just another Tuesday afternoon, in a suburban American town that looked like a brochure. Neat lawns, maple trees lining the streets, neighbors who waved politely but rarely asked questions. Ethan worked in IT support. His wife, Laura, stayed home after Noah was born, something they'd agreed on when life felt simpler, clearer. From the outside, they were ordinary, safe, predictable. But ordinary didn't explain the way Noah's shoulders were hunched like he was bracing against cold. "Does Mom play this game with you?" Ethan asked. Noah shook his head again, faster this time. "No, she plays it alone, but I hear it." "Hear what?" The quiet, the word landed hard. Ethan swallowed. "When do you hear it?" "At night," Noah said. "When you're working late." Ethan's mind raced backward through memory, late shifts, emergency calls, nights when he kissed Noah's forehead while Laura stood in the doorway, smiling, telling him not to worry. He had trusted that smile. "Buddy," Ethan said gently, "what does Mom do when she plays the game?" Noah hesitated, then leaned forward, as if the car itself might be listening. "She lies very still," he whispered. "And she tells me to be quiet, too." The car drifted slightly in its lane before Ethan corrected it. 1,000 thoughts collided at once. Fear, confusion, denial, guilt. He told himself he was overreacting, that this was just a misunderstanding filtered through a child's imagination. Laura loved Noah. She loved him. She made pancakes shaped like dinosaurs and labeled everything in the pantry with little sticky notes. But love didn't always look the same when no one else was watching. Ethan pulled into their driveway and turned off the engine. The house stood there as it always did, 2 stories, beige siding, a porch swing. Laura insisted on buying even though no one used it. The windows reflected the late afternoon sun, calm and harmless. "Hey," Ethan said, turning fully toward Noah. "Thank you for telling me. You did the right thing." Noah looked up, eyes wide. "Am I in trouble?" "No," Ethan said quickly. "Never. You're safe. I promise." He hoped it was true. Inside, the house smelled like lemon cleaner and something warm baking. Laura's voice floated from the kitchen. "You're home early," she called, cheerful, practiced. "How was school, Noah?" Noah didn't answer. He stayed close to Ethan's side, his small hand gripping the fabric of his jacket. Laura appeared in the doorway, wiping her hands on a towel. Her smile flickered for just a second when she noticed Noah's expression. "Everything okay?" she asked. "Fine," Ethan said too quickly. "We're just tired." Laura studied him, For a moment, something unreadable passed behind her eyes. Fatigue, maybe, or something deeper. "I'll finish dinner soon," she said. "Why don't you go wash up, Noah?" Noah looked at Ethan, silently asking permission. Ethan nodded. "Go on, buddy." As Noah disappeared down the hall, Ethan felt the house close in around him. The walls seemed thinner, the silence louder. That night, after Noah was asleep, Ethan lay awake, staring at the ceiling fan as it spun slow, uneven circles. Laura lay beside him, breathing steadily, her back turned toward him. He replayed Noah's words over and over. "She lies very still. She tells me to be quiet too." Ethan quietly slipped out of bed and walked down the hallway. Noah's door was slightly open. The nightlight cast a soft glow over the room. Noah slept curled on his side, clutching his stuffed bear like an anchor. Ethan sat on the edge of the bed and brushed a hand through his son's hair. "You did the right thing," he whispered again, though Noah couldn't hear him. Back in the living room, Ethan sat on the couch, phone in hand. He scrolled aimlessly, not really seeing anything, his thumb hovering over the emergency call button more than once before pulling away. "You're imagining things," he told himself. "You don't call emergency services because of a child's whisper." But then another thought crept in, unwelcome and sharp. What if you don't call and you're wrong? From the hallway, a soft sound reached him. A pause. Then silence. Not the comfortable silence of sleep, but something hollow. Pressed flat, Ethan stood up. He moved toward the bedroom door, heart pounding. It was open, just like he'd left it. Laura lay on the bed, facing the wall. "Laura?" he said quietly. No response. He stepped closer. "Laura?" Still nothing. Ethan's chest tightened. He placed a hand on her shoulder. It felt cold, too cold. He shook her gently. "Laura." No movement. The world narrowed to a single, terrifying point. Ethan's hands trembled as he reached for his phone. The emergency call screen glowed bright in the dim room. His finger hovered for less than a second this time, and as he pressed it, Noah's whisper echoed in his mind like a warning sent just in time. "I don't like Mom's game." As the line began to ring, Ethan realized that a child's quiet honesty might be the only reason this night didn't end very differently. And somewhere down the hallway, the house held its breath. The line connected with a soft click, followed by a calm, steady voice. 911. "What's your emergency?" For a moment, Ethan couldn't speak. His mouth opened, but no sound came out. He stared at Laura's still form, the familiar curve of her shoulder now frighteningly unfamiliar. The bedroom felt too quiet, as if sound itself had been switched off. My wife," he finally said, his voice breaking. "She's not responding." "Sir, I need you to stay calm," the dispatcher said gently. "What's your address?" Ethan gave it, his words tumbling over each other. His free hand hovered uselessly over Laura's back, afraid to touch her again, afraid of what he might confirm. "Is she breathing?" the dispatcher asked. Ethan leaned closer, listening, watching, hoping for the slightest rise and fall. Seconds stretched into something unbearable. I don't think so," he said. "I can't tell." "Okay," the dispatcher replied, unhurried but firm. "We're sending help right now. I need you to place the phone on speaker and follow my instructions. You're not alone in this. Not alone." The words anchored him. Ethan fumbled with the phone, setting it on the bedside table. His heart pounded so loudly he was sure the dispatcher could hear it through the speaker. "Sir," she said, "I want you to gently roll her onto her back." Ethan swallowed hard and did as he was told. Laura's face came into view, pale under the dim lamp. Her lips were slightly parted, her eyes closed as if she were sleeping. If he didn't know better, he might have believed she was just tired. Tell me when that's done, the dispatcher said. It's done, Ethan replied, his voice barely above a whisper. Now, place 2 fingers under her chin and tilt her head back slightly. Check for breathing again. Ethan followed every word, counting in his head, begging for movement. Nothing. I don't feel anything, he said. That's okay, the dispatcher responded calmly. You're doing the right thing. I'm going to guide you through what to do next. Are there any children in the house? The question sent a sharp jolt through him. Yes, Ethan said quickly. My son. He's asleep. Good, the dispatcher said. Make sure he stays where he is for now. Focus on me. Ethan nodded, even though she couldn't see him. As he listened, obeyed, and moved with mechanical precision, his mind kept drifting back to the small moments he'd brushed aside. Laura's increasing quietness over the past months. The way she sometimes stared out the window for long stretches. How she'd laugh it off when he asked if she was okay. I'm fine, she'd always said. Just tired. He had believed her, because believing was easier than asking harder questions. Sir, the dispatcher said, pulling him back to the present. Emergency responders are on the way. You're helping her right now. Keep going. Ethan didn't know how much time passed, only that every second felt heavy and urgent at the same time. His arms ached, his hands shook, but he didn't stop. He couldn't. Somewhere in the middle of it all, he heard a soft sound from the hallway. Daddy? Ethan's head snapped up. Noah stood at the doorway, clutching his stuffed bear, eyes wide with fear. Hey, Ethan said quickly, trying to steady his voice. Buddy, go back to bed, okay? What's wrong with Mom? Noah asked, his voice trembling. Ethan felt his chest tighten. He glanced at the phone, then back at his son. She's getting help, he said. But I need you to do something very important for me. Noah took a small step forward. What? I need you to go back to your room and stay there, Ethan said gently. Can you do that? Noah hesitated, then nodded slowly. Is she playing the game again? The words hit Ethan like a wave. No, he said firmly, though tears burned his eyes. She's not playing anymore. Noah studied him for a long moment, then turned and padded back down the hallway. Ethan listened until he heard Noah's door close. You're doing great, the dispatcher said softly. Help is very close now. And then, distant at first, but unmistakable, the sound of sirens cut through the night. Relief crashed over Ethan so suddenly his knees nearly gave out. They're here, he said, his voice cracking. Good, the dispatcher replied. Stay with her until they come to you. Moments later, flashing lights painted the walls in red and blue. Heavy footsteps echoed through the house. Voices, real voices, solid and present, filled the bedroom. We've got her, someone said. Ethan stepped back, his hands shaking uncontrollably now that he no longer had to move. A paramedic gently guided him toward the door. You did the right thing calling, she said, meeting his eyes. You may have saved her life. The words didn't feel real. They floated somewhere, just out of reach. As they worked, Ethan leaned against the hallway wall, his breath coming in uneven gasps. He slid down until he was sitting on the floor, head in his hands. He didn't notice Noah until small arms wrapped around his neck. I was scared, Noah whispered. Ethan pulled his son close, holding him tighter than he ever had before. I know, he said. I was too. From the bedroom came the sound of movement, controlled, purposeful. Laura was lifted onto a stretcher, oxygen placed gently, her chest finally rising and falling. Alive. As they wheeled her past, Ethan caught a glimpse of her face. Her eyes fluttered, just slightly. Ethan, she murmured, barely audible. He leaned close. I'm here, he said. I'm right here. She didn't say anything else, but her fingers twitched, rushing his hand. That night, As the ambulance doors closed and sirens faded into the distance once more, Ethan realized something that would haunt him forever and change him completely. If Noah hadn't spoken up, if he hadn't listened, the silence would have won. But as he stood there holding his son under the porch light, one question echoed louder than the sirens ever could. How many warning whispers do families hear every day, and how many go unheard until it's too late? Hospitals have a way of shrinking time and stretching it at the same moment. Ethan felt it the instant the sliding doors closed behind the stretcher. 1 second he was walking beside Laura, listening to the steady rhythm of the equipment, and the next he was standing still, holding Noah's hand, watching nurses disappear down a hallway marked "Authorized Personnel Only." Just like that, Laura was out of reach. "Daddy," Noah whispered, his fingers tightening around Ethan's. "Is Mommy going to be okay?" Ethan knelt in front of him, forcing his breathing to slow. He searched Noah's face for answers he didn't have. "She's with people who know how to help her," he said carefully. "And we're right here." Noah nodded, but his eyes drifted back to the hallway, as if he expected Laura to come walking out any second, smiling, saying it was all a misunderstanding. They were guided into a waiting area, plastic chairs bolted to the floor, a muted television playing a daytime show no one was watching, the faint smell of disinfectant in the air. Other people sat scattered around the room, each carrying their own quiet worry, their own invisible weight. Ethan sat down and pulled Noah onto his lap. Only then did he realize how exhausted he was. His arms trembled, not from effort now, but from the release of it. A nurse approached with a clipboard and a kind but serious expression. "Mr. Harper?" she asked. "Yes," Ethan said immediately, standing up. "She's stable," the nurse said. "Doctors are running tests. It may take some time." Stable. The word felt like a fragile bridge, something to step on carefully. "Can I see her?" Ethan asked. "Not yet," the nurse replied gently. "But we'll let you know." As she walked away, Ethan sat back down, staring at the floor. Noah rested his head against Ethan's chest, listening to his heartbeat. For the first time that night, Ethan cried. Not loudly, not in a way that drew attention. Just silent tears that slipped down his face, carrying with them the fear he'd been holding back for months without even realizing it. "I almost didn't call," he whispered, more to himself than to Noah. Noah looked up. "But you did." "Yes," Ethan said, swallowing hard. "Because you told me something important." Noah thought about that. "I didn't want to get Mommy in trouble." Ethan shook his head gently. "You didn't. You helped her." Noah's brow furrowed. "Then why was she playing the game?" Ethan didn't answer right away. He didn't know how to explain things that even adults struggled to understand. "Sometimes," he said slowly, "grown-ups feel really heavy inside, and instead of asking for help, they try to handle it alone." Noah hugged his bear tighter. "I don't like heavy." "Neither do I," Ethan said softly. Hours passed in fragments. A doctor came by to ask questions. Another nurse brought Noah a small cup of juice and a packet of crackers. Ethan signed forms with hands that still didn't feel like his own. Somewhere around midnight, the doctor finally returned. "Mr. Harper," he said, motioning Ethan aside. "Your wife is awake. She's asking for you." Ethan's breath caught. "Is she?" "She's going to be okay," the doctor said. But this was serious, very serious. Ethan nodded, bracing himself. Laura lay in the hospital bed, pale, but breathing steadily. Tubes and wires surrounded her, quiet reminders of how close the night had come to a different ending. When she saw Ethan, her eyes filled with tears. "I scared you," she whispered. "Yes," Ethan said, taking her hand. "You did." "I didn't mean to," Laura said, her voice breaking. I didn't think anyone would notice. Ethan thought of Noah's whisper. The quiet game. The stillness. Someone did, he said. Someone very small and very brave. Laura closed her eyes, tears spilling freely now. I didn't want Noah to see, she said. I didn't want to burden anyone. Ethan squeezed her hand gently. You don't get to decide that alone, he said. We're a family. When Ethan returned to the waiting room, Noah jumped up. Did you see her? He asked. Yes, Ethan said, smiling through tears. She wants to see you tomorrow. Noah's shoulders relaxed for the first time all night. As they sat together under the harsh hospital lights, Ethan realized something that settled deep into his bones. Families don't break in loud, obvious ways. They crack quietly between routines, behind smiles, inside unspoken words. And sometimes, the smallest voice is the one that hears the truth first. As Noah drifted to sleep against him, Ethan wondered how many homes looked just like theirs, normal on the outside, silent on the inside, and how many children were whispering things adults were too busy or too afraid to hear. If listening saved his family tonight, what else might it save tomorrow? The house felt different when they came back. Ethan noticed it the moment he unlocked the front door days later. Nothing had moved. The same couch cushions, the same framed school photo of Noah missing his 2 front teeth, the same porch swing creaking softly in the breeze, but the silence had changed. It was no longer heavy. It was cautious. Like the house itself was waiting to see how they would treat it now. Laura moved slowly, one hand brushing the wall as she walked, her steps careful. The doctors had been clear. Recovery would take time, not just for her body, but for everything else that had led them here. There would be appointments, conversations, uncomfortable honesty. No shortcuts. No pretending. Noah hovered close, watching her the way children watch glass that has already cracked, once gentle, alert, afraid of causing harm without meaning to. Mom? He asked quietly. Laura stopped and turned to him. She knelt, even though it took effort, and opened her arms. I'm here, she said. Noah stepped into the hug, resting his head against her shoulder. Laura closed her eyes, breathing him in like air after being underwater too long. I didn't like the game, Noah said softly. I know, Laura replied. Her voice trembled, but she didn't pull away. I'm sorry I scared you. Noah nodded, satisfied, as if that simple truth had been waiting to be spoken all along. That night, they didn't turn on the television. They sat at the table instead, no distractions, no background noise to hide behind. Just 3 plates, simple food, and a conversation that felt fragile but necessary. I need to say something, Laura said, staring down at her hands. Ethan waited. He had learned the value of waiting. I thought if I stayed quiet, she continued, no one would worry. I thought being strong meant handling everything myself. Ethan looked at her, really looked at her. Not as the person he assumed was fine, but as the person who had been drowning silently right beside him. I should have asked more, he said. I should have listened harder. Laura shook her head. This isn't about blame. No, Ethan agreed. It's about honesty. They made a promise that night, not a dramatic one, not something that would look good in a movie. Just a simple agreement to speak up sooner. To treat silence as a signal, not a success. In the weeks that followed, routines changed. Appointments became part of the calendar. So did walks around the neighborhood, taken slowly, sometimes wordlessly. Laura learned to describe the heaviness instead of hiding it. Ethan learned that fixing wasn't the same as supporting. And Noah learned something important too, that grown-ups could say, I need help, and still be safe. One afternoon, as Ethan worked on his laptop at the kitchen table, Noah sat nearby drawing. "What are you making?" Ethan asked. Noah held up the paper. It showed 3 stick figures holding hands beneath a crooked sun. "This is us," Noah said. "And the quiet is outside." Ethan felt his throat tighten. "That's a good place for it." Word spread, as it always does in small communities. Neighbors dropped off meals. A teacher sent a note home praising Noah's bravery in class discussions. Someone left a card on the porch with no name on it, just a simple message inside. "Thank you for reminding us to listen." Laura kept it tucked in her bag. One evening, weeks later, Ethan found Laura sitting on the porch swing. The sun was setting, painting the sky in colors that felt earned. "Thinking?" he asked. "Feeling?" she corrected, smiling faintly. He sat beside her. They rocked gently, the wood creaking in a rhythm that felt almost like breathing. "I used to think strength meant not needing anyone," Laura said. "Now I think it means trusting the people who love you." Ethan nodded. And listening to the smallest voices, Laura looked toward the window where Noah was inside, laughing at something on the floor. "He saved me," she said. Ethan shook his head gently. "He told the truth. You're the one who stayed." As night settled over the house, the lights inside glowed warm and steady. The quiet returned, but this time, it wasn't empty. It was shared, and for the first time in a long while, it felt safe. Time did not rush back into their lives. It returned carefully, like someone testing thin ice. Mornings came with sunlight and soft conversation. Some days were light and easy, others heavier but no longer hidden. Laura learned to name her feelings instead of folding them away. Ethan learned to pause, to listen without interrupting, without rushing toward answers. And Noah watched it all, absorbing lessons no one had planned to teach him so early. One Saturday morning, Noah climbed into bed between them, something he hadn't done in a long time. "Are you okay today?" he asked Laura, his voice gentle but sure. Laura smiled and brushed his hair back. "Today, yes, and if I'm not someday, I'll say so." Noah nodded, satisfied. "Good." Ethan turned away for a moment, blinking back emotion. He understood now that healing wasn't a finish line, it was a language they would keep learning together. Weeks later, Ethan was invited to speak at a small community safety meeting. He almost said no. Standing in front of people, sharing something so personal, felt exposing. But then he thought of Noah's whisper. How close it had come to being ignored. So he stood in a room, full of folding chairs and familiar faces, and told the truth. "My son said something small," Ethan said. "Something easy to brush off. But listening to him changed everything. He didn't dramatize it. He didn't sensationalize it. He just spoke plainly about silence, about paying attention, about how asking for help can look different in every home. Afterward, a woman approached him with tears in her eyes. "My daughter says strange things too," she said. "I think I need to listen better." Ethan nodded. "We all do." At home that night, Laura squeezed his hand. "You turned our worst night into something that might help someone else." Ethan shook his head. Noah did. Life moved forward, not perfectly, but honestly. There were moments of laughter that surprised them, moments of quiet that no longer frightened them. The house learned their new rhythm. The walls heard conversations instead of swallowed words. The porch swing finally had a purpose. One evening, as they sat together watching fireflies blink on and off in the yard, Noah spoke up again. "I don't hear the quiet game anymore," he said. Laura pulled him close. "That's because it's gone." Noah thought about that, then smiled. "I like this better." "So do I," Ethan said. As the sky darkened and stars appeared one by one, Ethan realized something simple and profound. The moment that saved their family hadn't been loud or dramatic. It hadn't come with alarms or flashing lights. It came as a whisper. A child trusting his parent enough to speak. A parent choosing to listen. A silence interrupted just in time, and as Ethan looked at his family, closer, stronger, more honest than before, one question settled gently into his heart, waiting to be asked out loud. What quiet truth might someone you love be whispering right now? And will you really listen when it matters most? If this story touched your heart, hit the like button to show your support. Subscribe and turn on the notifications bell for more true stories that remind us why listening matters.